So for today's lesson, I'm going to demonstrate how to start drawing furniture. And you can start with this page if you want. All I did was take the floor, turn it upside down, make the ceiling. That will give you the room you need. If not, you need to start from the beginning with a new page. So reminder, step number 1, we're going to start with the back wall. Keep it on the smaller size in order to make sure that you have enough floor space and wall space to draw what you want to draw. Okay, so step number 1, draw the back wall. Step number 2, we need to go to the X. Once again, I'm just going to place it sort of kind of in the middle. And step number 3, go from the X through the corners and out. And that is how we always start the interior of a space. Okay, so what I'm going to do is draw a table in this area here. Once again, I'm just going to freehand it first so you know what's coming. Okay, so step number 1 is you draw the side of the object that you're looking at. So if you think of that it's a tabletop, right, the side, if this was a table, the side that you're looking at would look like this. It's the edge. So first of all, I'm going to draw the edge. Let's just keep it over on this side of the room to leave room over here. So step number 1, draw the side of the object. Step number 2, I'm going to go to the X, go to the X, go to the X from all our corners. Step number 3, cut off the back. Whatever we do at the front, we do at the back. So the front goes straight across, the back goes straight across, front goes straight up and down, back goes straight up and down. And then, of course, we also need to add our legs. So there's the front of the legs, and then same thing. I'm going to go from the corner back to the X, and then straight up and down. And then to do this side, once I know where this back corner is, if I go straight across, now it knows where, I know where to stop on that side as well. So I'm going to, barely be able to see this, but I'll get that. And then same thing here, I can go straight up and down, and if I go to the X, it'll tell me if I will be able to see that leg or not. Okay, so for the good copy, so step number 1, I'm just going to do this in a slightly different order. I'm going to go ahead and put the legs on now. And again, you can keep it really simple. And just put the legs flush to the ends. So step number 1, draw the front of the object. Step number 2, let's go to the X. And again, how long you draw these lines will determine the size of the table. I'm going to go from this corner right here. If your table goes right to the middle of the room and it's underneath that X, you will not be able to see the side of it at all. That's okay. If the X says you can't see it, then you can't see it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut off the back. Cut off the side, straight up and down. We're going to watch these lines here. It's got to go straight up and down. This is the biggest mistake that I'm kind of seeing as people show me their work. Make sure it's straight up and down. Do not let those lines start to get slanted. Okay, so let's go back to the leg. Again, you know, this table would fall down. We need to add the side and then go straight up and down. And then because I know where the back of this leg is, I'm going to go straight across, give myself a little line, so now I know from this corner to the X, can barely see it, straight up and down. And that, if that's the bottom of the front line, it's also going to be the bottom at the back. So once again, I went from this corner all the way back to the X to determine where the back leg would go. So now I know I need to come there. I need to come forward a bit and then go straight up and down. And then we know the bottom goes straight across. How far over it goes, we also don't have to guess because we can use this corner, go back to the X, and it'll show me it's right here. This is where I go straight up and down. So once again, the nice things about perspective is that you don't have to guess anymore trying to figure out where stuff goes. It's rational. You can just use your ruler and use the X to always figure out. Of course, we wouldn't be able to see this leg, but you can kind of see if this was a glass table where you'd come down, you'd use this information from the front leg and this back leg to put that leg in. Okay, so the other thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put a couch in onto the right hand side. So in this case, I'm going to draw the end view, and this is how you would draw any chair, couch, love seat, etc. So we're going to start with, we got the back part, and we have the part that we sit on. We have something that looks like this. I'm going to put just little feet on, like this. So what would our view look like? And then, of course, go to the X, 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 and then cut it off. So we're not doing anything different than we've done before. So this goes straight up and down, this goes straight up and down, straight across, up and down, straight across. All right. So that's a pretty uncomfortable looking couch. So I'm going to make it a little bit better. Let's lean this part back. And let's start with something that looks like that instead. All right, so let's do the good one. So first step is I'm going to do the bottom cushion. And I'm just going to erase my floor line over here. Okay, so now, again, I'll just kind of stop and freehand for a minute. Yeah, that looks good. Before I go back to using the ruler. Okay, so there's our first step. Step number 2, let's go back to the X. Go from this corner back to the X. And go from the top. And cut off the back. So if we wanted a chair, we would just cut it off right here. If we wanted a love seat, we might cut it back here. Because I want a couch, I'm going to go farther back. So remember, just always be cognizant of whatever you're doing at the front. So the front goes straight up and down. The back goes straight up and down. The front goes straight across. The back goes straight across. Okay, and then this is like the roof of a house. If the front is at this angle, again, I'm going to get a second straight edge. And I'm going to put them next to each other to make sure they're parallel. Again, I've been drawing forever, and if I need to use 2, you probably need to use 2 edges. And even to go straight across, I find it hard to get my horizontals straight as well. So using 2 edges, no matter what they are, helps keep everything parallel. Okay, I'm going to add some kind of little feet. And same thing, there's the front of it. I need to now go back to the X. And if the front's at this angle, the back's at that angle. Same thing on this side. I'm just freehanding mine. And then at this point, you could go ahead, it's because it's obviously a pretty simple thing, and start changing it up. So I'm just going to, what if I round the top? Okay, well now the top line changes. And I'll go back to the X. So that is now my line. And the top of the curve is same as going from a corner. Wherever my ruler lets me touch, that's where I'll do it. And whatever you do at the front, you have to do at the back. So if I just rounded the front, now I need to round the back. And then we could go in and add some armrests. Here's the start of an armrest here. And we're just starting the whole process over again. There's step number 1, draw the end of the armrest. Step number 2, go to the X, go to the X, go to the X, cut it off, cut it off, cut it off. And then once you have the front information, we use it to get our back information. So whatever we do at the front, we do at the back. And we just have to make it skinnier at the back than it is at the front. Things get smaller as they go back. And then I can just go straight across. And once again, I do not have to guess. So this angle at the front means it's that angle at the back. So just keep those steps in mind. And we can do other things. We know how to divide this in half. Where's our corner? This corner to this corner. We know how to go from this corner to here, which means if this was a 2-cushion coach, that's where the middle would be. Once again, we use the same angle. Use the same angle here, straight across, straight up and down. And we haven't added any new steps. We're still just doing the same steps over and over again. We're just applying them to do a bit more complicated things.